Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to our preview show where we look at what's coming up in the world of boxing, including this weekend's fights, which is over in Australia. George Kambosos Jr, Skye Nicolson, Tiara Brown and the rest of that card, as well as Sebastian Fundora returning to the ring for the first time in a while. I suppose we'll start we'll start down under with George Kambosos Jr. It was going to be David Jordan. It's now Jake Wyllie. More than anything, is it just nice to see Kambosos Jr. back out there, particularly obviously in his home country as well?
Yeah, exactly. Back in Australia, back where obviously the last time he went to Australia, he lost to Vasily Lomachenko, but it's good to see him back out in action, and it's also good to see an Australian card on the weekend. You know, normally this sort of card would fall midweek on a Wednesday. It's great to see that it's happening on a Saturday night, that everyone can enjoy it, and for us, we can wake up in the morning and have our, Cocoa Pops and watch some good boxing, and it's a great card from top to bottom. You know, Skye Nicholson's having her homecoming against Tiara Brown. You got Johnson Hughes too. That fight there had a lot of drama, obviously in the fight, but also at the end. It's in my memory of the announcer announcing the wrong winner, and I don't think I've ever seen the guy announce a fight since that.
And the fact that Nina Hughes should have won the fight anyway. You know, not only did they rob her of that in the terms of the decision, but they robbed her of it by telling her she'd won it and then telling her she hadn't.
Imagine that going through your head, mind. You know, you've just, that is poor. How can you even make that mistake? You know, all you're doing is reading the numbers at the bottom of the card.
Yeah, I don't know. I seem to remember Ben interviewed her shortly before that down at a top tier show. Yeah. And she seemed obviously dead buzzing for it, looking forward to it. And then, that's got to be crushing. But, we'll get onto that maybe in a bit more. And then I know the fight that you're looking forward to say. Go on, deliver it.
Teremoana Jr. I cannot wait. I was going to do the full David Diamante of Teremoana ×3, but no, it was great to see him back out in action. I'm very high on the Teremoana train. I think he's something special, and his last couple of performances have been very, very good. And this one on Saturday night, you just expect to be another firework performance.
Yeah, it is one of those fights you expect fireworks, and we got that last time. We almost got it a bit quicker than we wanted it last time. But
I want to see him go a bit longer. I know that might sound a little bit selfish, but I want to see him a bit, go through the rounds a bit, because this is a 6-round heavyweight fight. Just go the distance, Let's see what you can actually do and show off your boxing skills. And he's up against an opponent, James Singh, 12-5 from Fiji. It's good to see. It's just good to see him back out in action, but everyone's tuning in on Saturday night for one man and one man only, and that is George Kambosos Jr. His homecoming, he's had those 2 fights against Devin Haney where he's had back-to-back losses. He's come back and won a fight, and then against Vasily Lomachenko I want to say he was in Melbourne in the Marvel Stadium where he fought him. He didn't go his way that night, and it's just great, like we said, it's just great to see him back out in the ring. And I can't remember if there was much talk of him actually ever stepping back in the ring again after that defeat, but he's back in action, obviously up against an opponent that he wasn't expected to be in there with, but he's up against an opponent that is the Australian champion at that weight. So it should be an interesting fight. But I think everyone's going to be talking about George Kambosos Jr. this weekend, and also the return of, I think, everyone's favourite female boxer at the moment, apart from Lauren Price and myself, Skye Nicolson.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the George Kambosos Jr. fight's really hard to call because the opponent he's now got is so unknown.
Last minute.
He's got one loss against a knockout loss against a fighter who's 0-2-0 quite early or earlier on in his career. And other than that, he's pretty much knocked every single person out. And that's not to suggest I think he's going to knock out George Kambosos Jr., but certainly any fighter with lights out power can always cause a problem, and it's going to be an interesting test because that ring rust will need to be shaken off, and it will need to be shaken off quickly if the man that stood opposite him is carrying that kind of power, and also he's got 12 rounds to do. That's a lot.
Yeah, and his opponent's already been active this year. He fought in February, obviously a no contest, a head clash that caused a cut. So hopefully, I'm assuming that's on his opponent. It was on his opponent. So
I was going to say, he just comes with a huge gash on his eye.
Just a scar where you're thinking, Kambosos Jr., just target that and you'd be all right. But no, it's an interesting fight. And that's the thing with a lot of top fighters nowadays. They don't really want to take a late fight. We've seen it. Well, the last sort of dropout that we've had was Martin Bakole, big dropout. And he came in and obviously showed that you need to have a proper camp to take on these high-level fighters. But now, George Kambosos Jr., I think he gets through this on Saturday morning for us, Saturday night in Australia with flying colours, and he can put his name back in the mix again. And, this could be his last fight in Australia, in his professional career. You don't know what's going to happen after Saturday night. He might have to go back over to America to get those big paydays that he does deserve, because he has had a very good career. I remember the first time I really watched him was against Lee Selby back in 2020. Back in 2020, actually. I think that was the fight that there was no one in the arena. It was behind closed doors, and Lee Selby had it on one card, and then the other two cards gave it to Kambosos Jr. And since then, he's been on an upward trajectory over those years. And Saturday night, I'm expecting him to put in a very good performance, even get a stoppage, and then get out as quickly as possible. You've got the mix of Saudi Arabia's involvement in boxing, this TKO thing that's happening at the moment. Does he want to get involved with that? Who knows? But you want to see George Kambosos Jr. in big fights in the future.
Yeah, can I be honest though? I really like what Matchroom are doing with Tasman fighters over in Australia. I just really enjoy it. I think those cards, that last card, I watched pretty much all the way through, and I really enjoyed it. There's good atmosphere in the arenas. There's some good fighters out there. It's just exciting. It really is. And like you say, George Kambosos Jr. now up at super lightweight. This is a chance for him to sort of kind of go again and one last roll of the dice. Not necessarily one more fight, but one more roll of the dice at getting himself back in world title contention. And this is a good way to start doing it, right back in the fire. And then, as you mentioned, Skye Nicolson versus Tiara Brown. It's two unbeaten fighters. Skye has pretty much got to this point without a single blemish on her career, without hardly taking a shot, with being completely and utterly dominant the whole way through. And yet Tiara Brown is an opponent that you'd imagine, I know we say this every time, will at least cause Skye some problems. Yeah. And that in itself is an interesting proposition.
It is, and we talked about that when we previewed Skye Nicolson, Raven Chapman, didn't we? Oh, Raven Chapman's going to be the woman that's going to cause Skye Nicolson a lot of problems.
And how did that turn out?
Look at their scorecards, 99-91 and then 2 98-92s. It was one-sided, and Skye Nicolson, we were saying before this podcast, she is very, very special, isn't she?
Yeah, she's got unbelievable ring control.
Yeah.
She's not hugely tall in comparison to her opponents.
She's not heavy-handed as well, is she?
She uses the length really well, and she just seems to be always just outside of range and yet always inside range to land the shot. She judges that distance really well, and a quality southpaw. So like you say, she's a really quality operator, not a big hitter. She's unlikely to get finishes, particularly at world level, because she doesn't put weight into her shots. She's always ready to go back out. And I think we'll see another good performance from her. And hopefully we'll see as well that eventually the featherweight world titles are able to be handed around. Obviously, I think it is still Amanda Serrano that has control of them, which is bizarre, seeing as she's now fighting twice with Katie Taylor at super lightweight.
Which is
can't
great.
Keep holding up. Great fight, don't get me wrong. Yeah.
Did we talk about that last week, Katie Taylor?
Yeah, we talked about that
Great
recently.
to see them finally getting it back on. And I can't remember many fights where it's 2-0 and we really want to see the trilogy because we still don't know who's better. And
yeah, absolutely.
They can obviously, but going back to this fight, Tiara Brown is her first opportunity at a world title. A bit like in the main event, there's an unknown quantity in that fight. It's the same with this. You don't really know what Tiara Brown's going to bring to the table. Can she actually cause Skye Nicolson problems? I don't think so, because every time we said that, Skye Nicolson seems to prove us wrong, which is fair enough. But 18-1, 11 stoppages. Obviously not up against world-class opponents, but still, to have 11 stoppages is impressive, and she is dangerous, And Skye Nicolson needs to be on it on Saturday night to just in case, Tiara Brown lands out one shot that could switch the lights off, really.
Yeah, definitely. She does need to be switched on, and fortunately for her, she pretty much always is.
Oh, she is.
Another quick thing on Skye. I haven't watched all of it. I watched a portion of a podcast she did with a guy called Mark Boris, I think it's pronounced, or I think his name is, about her life and stuff. And she talks about losing her brothers in a car crash who were both boxers before she was born. And it's just a brilliant story. So if anyone is listening to... Don't click off this, please. Please, we need the listeners.
You've already said the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Just said the Punchers Chance.
Go check it out, because it's a really great interview. Or if not, just watch a few clips on social media. Because it's a fascinating story. And then, as we previously mentioned a little bit already, and we'll get onto it in a little bit more detail, Cherneka Johnson, Nina Hughes... Oof, that should be a really good fight, and there should be a little bit of bite there, and there should be a little bit more to it, shouldn't there?
It's personal now, isn't it? I think, like we said, there was a lot of drama after that first fight where Nina Hughes, if I remember rightly, was she told that she was the champion, and then...
Yes.
Yeah, that should never happen.
So bad.
It is. It's terrible. But yeah, there's something that is very personal now between them, I think. And I think Nina Hughes, this entire fight week's going to be, you did not win that fight. You didn't win that fight. I won that fight and it got taken away from me because I'm the away corner fighter. And you've got to give her props as well to Nina Hughes. Obviously, she wants that title. But to go back in there straight away...
Particularly at the age of 42.
Exactly.
She's not exactly, she's not getting any younger, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but, she hasn't got so long left on her career.
Exactly, and like we say, she got robbed, I think, and that's the word that you hate using in boxing, but we see it so much. But that night, when that happened, I think everyone just sat there and just went, what?
Yeah.
They just said that she won, and then they're going back on it. The promoter's going up to the announcer saying, what the hell are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I think we put up a clip and talked about it on the podcast. I'll try and remember to put it on here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, so you can check out what happened. But like I said, it's just a crazy thing you just don't expect.
But 96, 94, 98, 92, that's way too wide for that fight. 95, 95, all in favour of her opponent. I think Saturday night, she just needs to go all out and just prove a point. And in the back of her mind now as well, after that, she's going to be probably thinking, should I really leave this to the judges? I'm in the away corner. Do I have to do that extra bit of, instead of having that feeling out process in the first 3 to 2 rounds, I'm going to have to go from the first bell.
Yeah, unfortunately with the 10-2s, we tend to get that anyway.
Yeah.
It should make for a really good fight. We've mentioned Teremoana Jr. already. Anything else you want to say on him other than just you really like him? Say his name a few times.
Just expect another huge stoppage I reckon.
Think so, yeah. I think
no disrespect to his opponent, James Singh. 12-5, coming off another no contest. That's the second fighter on this card coming into the fight on a no contest. Oh, it was in the... it is an interesting story. Look at this. For the Fijian heavyweight title, both fighters disqualified. Singh, who is Teremoana's opponent on Saturday, hit his opponent whilst down. His opponent then was in his corner pending a decision, then ran across the ring and started throwing punches at Singh, causing a brawl. Both fighters disqualified, and it was declared a no contest.
Wow.
Well, I need to search that up on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that after this, because that sounds unreal. And what's even better is that was in a rematch as well.
Was it a rematch?
That was a rematch of which he lost the first fight by knockout. Teremoana's opponent. So it's...
no, that was a trilogy.
Was it a trilogy?
That was a trilogy.
Wow. There's been some legendary trilogies out there, but there's none that sounds
We
better.
need to watch that series back.
I'm watching all 3 of those, all taking place in Fiji as well.
People are talking about the trilogy between Beterbiev Bivol. This
Katie
is the
Taylor,
one. Katie Taylor, Usyk Fury. This one's the one. Yeah.
Off you go.
This is true boxing, right?
True boxing is the James Singh Semi Daluluma trilogy in Fiji.
We're going to have to watch that. We're going to have to watch it, yeah.
Anyway, that's a great detour. I'm glad we...
I can't believe that.
Glad we clicked on that BoxRec page when we did. There's some other good fights on this card. You've got... I think Hemi Ahayo is a heavyweight, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a big heavyweight.
Who's he fighting?
He's not fought outside. He is fighting against... Let me give this my best. If I offend anyone or say anything... offensive by trying to pronounce his name, I do apologise.
Cancel him.
Ikafob Urawane. Oh, that was quite good,
that
actually.
Sounds good.
I think I got that right.
You did it better than me.
I got that nailed on, so have that. That'll be an interesting fight. Heavyweight clashes are always exciting, aren't they? You've got Imam Katayev, who's I think a light heavyweight, 9-0. Who's another scary-looking man. He falls under the scary-looking man category.
And normally they're not very scary when they get in the boxing ring.
But sometimes they can be.
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to think of any really scary-looking men that were really quite good in the ring. And I can't...
Ben Thomas, I think...
yeah. No, he's not that great in the ring.
No?
No.
Okay.
We've got... Because I'm thinking like Valuev wasn't very scary man.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great a boxer.
Oh, David versus Goliath in that fight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Literally David Hay, yeah.
And then obviously you've got Makhmedov, who we know recently, who always does the like thing every like 10 seconds after.
Can
he
you
gets
imagine
punched.
facing off with him and
No.
he's doing all that neck thing, and then when you get in the ring, which Ajit Kabayel did, and basically battered him, you're thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I think what we'll do is we'll jump over do the predictions for this fight card on the Boxing News app. Ben can't win this week. He definitely didn't win it last week. I'm not.
Well, he's not here to claim his victory.
He's not there to claim it. So, and he only won on rounds, so I won really.
Did he?
Yeah. So we'll do our predictions on there. You can join us along if you want, or just be interested in our predictions. And then we'll get on to some other fights and some other things going on. So we've got Kambosos Jr versus Wyllie,
Even though the guy's
which at the moment isn't updating on my app.
I've got it updated, so there is fights.
There
on
is
there.
fights on there. Okay. Bang about. There we go. Imam Katayev, as I just mentioned, the Russian light heavyweight, fighting Duval Elias Palacio over 10 rounds. 100% knockout rate for Katayev.
And he'll remain. It will remain that way. Yes.
I'm going to go for a Katayev decision.
Oh wow!
Because you
Here
never
we
back
go.
an Argentinian to get knocked out.
You should start a theory.
Have you not
know?
learnt this already? Silly from you. Cherneka Johnson, Nina Hughes. For this one, I'm going to go for a Nina Hughes points decision.
I think Nina Hughes needs to stop her. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think she's going to stop her.
Fair enough. Also, I mean, how many rounds is that first one? Oh, shit, it's 10 rounds.
Yeah.
I'm stuck by my decision now. It's 100% predicted Katayev by KO on the app, so it's not looking good for me. The next one, Skye Nicolson points decision.
Nicholson stoppage.
Wow.
I'm feeling it's a homecoming.
So that's going to outweigh the fact that you're going to get a knockout decision on the first one, and then we'll be even going into George Kambosos Jr versus Jake Wyllie.
Great to see that Jake Wyllie's taking this fight on short notice, but I think it's a step too far. I think Kambosos Jr gets the stoppage win, and I think he gets it within 6. Wow.
I'm going for a points decision win by George Kambosos Jr.
I've gone stoppage wins on every single fight.
Ooh, so it's going to be a good night for you. And what's going to happen in Teremoana Jr.'s fight?
Hopefully not a disqualification.
Yeah, maybe. That's if you could predict that.
A stoppage win, yeah. Within 2, probably.
Fair enough. I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right.
Look at my odds, mine. Obviously, the betting company you hate. Obviously, after Cheltenham as well last week. 246 to 1.
Oosh, I got 30 to 1.
If
and I think most of
if
the
I
odds
was
are probably...
horse racing, you'd probably put that bet on because they normally win.
Yeah, you'd
like
be daft
last
not
week.
to.
Constitutional and all that.
Yeah, heartbreak.
Still
Actually,
better.
no, I don't know why I'm saying heartbreak. I won that race, so.
Did you?
Yeah, my horse won that race.
wow.
Anyway, this is the puncher's chance, not the punter's chance. So less horse
that's
racing.
coming, though. That's coming.
Possibly, if anyone wants it, we can bring out the horse racing. Canelo versus Skull in Saudi Arabia. That's been announced for a little while now. But we've just got the full card announced, which I'm going to get up in front of me now because I don't know it off the top of my head. Bear with me just one moment.
Well, Canelo against William Skull is a great fight.
Yeah.
Hami Munguia, which I can't believe is the first name on the boxing post. I thought Saras would be Saras Munguia
Jaime
too.
Munguia versus Bruno Saras, the rematch.
Martin Bakoli, Efer Ajagba.
Great fight.
Love it. But I think Bakoli just gets straight through him.
I think he's going to have a point to prove, yeah. He's been doing roly-polies in the ring. I don't know if you saw on Twitter. So he's getting prepared. Badu Jack, Ryan Rosicki.
Great to see him back out.
Great to see Badu Jack out again. Good to know he's still alive and he still exists.
And he's still got that world title, which
reinstated.
is unbelievable.
Interesting fight with Ryan Rosicki. Obviously, an interesting opponent.
Yep.
He's not necessarily had some huge tests, so it's difficult to say where he's at. And do you know what? A fight I'm really looking forward to is Marco Verde's pro debut. Obviously, a silver medalist in
At the Paris Olympics, correct.
And I thought should have won that fight, or I thought he won the fight. He should have had the gold medal. and he was a really good fighter. He will be really interesting to see how he moves through into the pro ranks. Obviously, Mexicans, they're exciting, aren't they? And a 23-year-old Southpaw Mexican, Olympic medalist.
What's not to love?
What's not to want? It's going to be good. It's going to be good. And I'm trying to just double check which weight he's coming in at for this one. Middleweight. So, he's going to be Mexican middleweights. That's an exciting thing to see, isn't it?
Well, if there's anything like Canelo Alvarez, then we're in for a treat. But it's great to see Canelo back out in action. And I can't believe this. This is his first time, I think, in his pro career that he's fighting outside of Mexico and America for the first time.
Is it?
I think so.
That would make sense, yeah.
Which is mental. And you're looking at his record. We were talking before, and I gave you this question. I've given you a bit of time. When was the last time Canelo Alvarez has had a stoppage win?
I've got two names in my head.
Okay. Give me the second one before your first one. So
the one I'm not going to go for.
Yeah.
The one I'm not going to go for is Jamal Charlo, because I don't think he got a stoppage in that fight.
Correct. That went to 12 rounds. Unanimous decision.
And I think it was the fight either before or after that. I can't remember which way round it was. But the opponent, I think, was Caleb Plant.
So the last couple of fights for Canelo Alvarez, Berlanga, Munguia, Charlo, John Ryder,
Yeah.
Gennady Golovkin, Dimitri Bivol, then Caleb Plant.
Right.
And he went on like a 3-fight win streak of stoppages after the Callum Smith unanimous decision win against Avni Yildirim, Billy Joe Saunders. A lot of people forget that Billy Joe Saunders fight, where we saw a really different side of Canelo Alvarez, that entire build-up to that fight, which was great to see. And it's just great to see him over in Riyadh now. And I think he's going to
Did I get the question right? You haven't told me.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, right. Well,
in a way that you said Caleb Plant, which I'm disappointed because I thought you would have said Billy Joe Saunders.
No,
because that's who I thought was his last stoppage win, but it wasn't.
Well, you didn't give me any credit. You just refused to credit me on the podcast for getting that question right.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'll give you your flowers later, don't worry.
Thank you.
But no, you look at that weekend of boxing, we are in for a treat. It's someone's birthday that weekend, who we really need to go and get a birthday card for.
Yeah.
He's not
He's
yet.
got a birthday card right there.
Literally.
Fight card, birthday card. People on the audio version can't see that.
Sam Hill was
here.
here. He's got dates coming up. You can book him.
Yeah, absolutely. No one will, but you could. I'll take it.
But that weekend's incredible, though, ain't it?
Yeah.
Times Square, Canelo's fighting, Inoue's fighting. For us, though, it's horrible in a way because it's 3 back-to-back nights of staying up until the early hours in the morning.
Yeah, I'm already going to book that weekend off with.
Because we'll be off that then, won't we?
Yeah, we'll be done with uni. Wow. I'm going to book it off with the girlfriend. I'm going to say, no, lock me in a dark room all weekend.
Got to switch my time zone up.
Yeah. Do you know what, actually, though, I might catch up on the Times Square one on Saturday morning, come to think of it, and just do all day Saturday. Why not?
Yeah.
Could be an option. But yeah, that is such a weekend.
It is.
The one thing I do think is it's really frustrating when boxing puts great cards on the same weekend, because nearly always either the weekend before or after has no good cards, and you just think, just talk to each other and push one a week forward, please. Like, just do us a favour.
Keep one back a little bit.
Yeah, like,
what, you need an extra week? Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, Inoue can fight a week earlier. The same thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
He's still going to knock him out, so you might as well get it over and done with.
Do you think this is the last time as well that Canelo Alvarez will be in a ring with all those belts, with this TKO announcement?
Well, interestingly, I think Turkey made an announcement this week. I can't remember if it was on a Twitter space or something, but I seen it on Ring Magazine, posted it. And don't get me wrong, I say maybe take it with a pinch of salt, because he could easily say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
But he said, this TKO boxing project is not against anyone, not against the commission, not against the promoters. We will still see the 4 belts and the commission and the promoters.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Whether we'll see it with them, but certainly he's saying he's not looking to, tear the walls down and...
maybe he's starting from the bottom then, Turkey, with Dana White, and building up fighters, maybe instead of taking fighters from promoters, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe he's going to, he'll take it down one by one. The IBO, he's going to take them down.
That's not hard to do, though.
And then he'll...
that's not a world title.
And then he'll take on the WBF or, all of these. And then eventually, him and Mauricio Suleiman, 1v1, he'll take him down and reinstate the Ring Magazine as the biggest and only title. Possibly, or realistically, we'll just keep seeing the 4 titles, and every so often there'll be a TKO card, which also sounds fun.
And do you think Canelo Alvarez is involved in that first TKO card?
Yes, I think Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford is the first TKO card.
I like the sound of that.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Neither of them are tied down to a major promoter. They're two of the biggest named pound-for-pound stars in the world, and they're both going to fight each other in Saudi Arabia. Why wouldn't Dana and Turkey get their hands on it? They'd be silly not to.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I think that weekend for me is very exciting. There's so many fight cards I'm excited for now. You got Easter Sunday, you've got Fraser Clark returning, Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron too. What's going to happen in that? Chris Eubank Jr. the following week against Conor Benn. Incredible fight. And then you literally go from that card to this weekend.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah, I think Easter weekend you've got Dalton Smith.
Yes, on the Saturday.
Fisioli, return of Josh Warrington.
And then on the Sunday then you've got Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron too, which fair play for Ben Whittaker for taking. Again, that rematch is something that I think a lot of fighters would probably push to one side after his performance in those 5 rounds. But we say it every single week, and I sound like a broken record. Boxing is in such a good place. We've had that announcement with TKO where you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, this could either be good or this could really be bad for boxing. But now they're coming out, they're putting a plan in place. And if it is Canelo Alvarez against Terence Crawford as the first, this is what TK boxing's all about, I'm in for it now. And yeah, like I said, boxing is in such a good place. This weekend is going to be another great weekend. I don't even know what's happening next weekend. You're looking at previews for next week. You're like, Jesus.
Let's have a quick look and see what's coming up, because it's going to be something decent, I'm sure.
There's going to be a fight card where we're thinking, because you got...
Like, have we thought of that?
Joe Joyce, Filip Hrgovic, the winner goes home sort of fight that in 2 weeks' time.
On the weekend of that, you have William Zepeda, Tevin Farmer rematch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You have Michaela Meyer, Sandy Ryan, alongside Brian Norman Jr., fighting on the main event there as well.
Hopefully Lauren Price is over there.
I think that's the only fights in the world. See if there's any decent-sized UK fight cards coming up of that size that weekend. No, I don't think so, actually. I think it's a quiet week in the UK that week.
And it's good to see that. I know we're trying to, but Welsh boxing is coming back in focus at the minute, aren't they? Kieran Jones.
That weekend is
it the showdown in
Altrincham with
Pat Brown?
Hang on,
are you forgetting
Jordan
the biggest
Flynn.
fight then next week?
Clearly,
KSI against Dylan Dennis.
Oh, give it a rest.
That is the biggest fight in boxing today.
Absolutely not.
I cannot wait for it.
Yeah.
Have you seen how much you have to pay for it?
No.
I'll go that for a laugh.
For a second, if anyone on the audio version has if you haven't clicked off yet, he was joking.
It was just like, what's this kid on about again?
Yeah.
No, it's good. Boxing's great, and there's so many decent fights. And like I was saying with the Welsh boxing, walks out for Ethan George against Willie Gilhaney.
Good fight.
Ethan George is fighting this weekend in a very tough fight at the O2. Fingers crossed he gets through that, and then we can have an absolute barnstormer down in Swansea that we should have had late last year. It got taken away from us because there's some medical issues, not with the fighters, but with the promotional company. That for me is an incredible fight, and I'm looking forward to it. Great to see Kieran Jones has recovered from his injury as well. He's going for the Celtic title. Yeah, Welsh boxing is back, and there's so many fights, so many good fights, not even in Wales, but around the world. It's great to see.
And there's a fighter fighting next weekend who trains in Wales, who is fighting on a undercard in Gloucester, who is the 4th ranked super lightweight in the female division behind Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron.
Yeah.
And yet she's on an undercard in Gloucester.
Fighting a nobody, probably.
Robbery. Absolute robbery in a 6-rounder.
She will get her time. Mark my words.
Time will come. If you don't know who it's on about, Elizabeth Shoba, I suppose we could say a friend of the channel now. We've spoken to her a fair number of times. Nigerian fighter. Very good fighter.
Incredible fighter.
Things to come. 5 knockouts in 8 wins. For a female, that is mightily impressive. Commonwealth silver medalist, etc., etc. Yeah. But we'll get onto that next week, I'm sure, in the preview, hopefully with Ben there as well. So maybe not.
Well, he could be stuck in Poland. We might want him to stay, but he might not even come back. Poland could be that good.
Be quite nice, that, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Are you feeling lonely over there?
I do feel quite lonely over here. I got a lot of room. Which
yeah. You don't have much room next to him when you're over there.
It's always like when you get to the last minute of the podcast, you just bring out the jokes on Ben, which he's on. Yeah.
He's not here to defend himself this time, but it'll be nice to have Ben back. And if you guys miss Ben, let us know.
We need him back.
We all miss him.
Yeah. Setting up all these cameras wasn't.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time I did it.
So I think that pretty much wraps it up for another episode, a great episode, if I ask myself.
Thank you.
Think so. And you've done well today. Thank you.
I know. I panicked. I was stressing out with me just being by myself. I thought, oh God, I need to get more notes out.
Yeah, you filled the gap well.
Happy days.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Spotify for the audio episodes. If you're listening on YouTube and you prefer just audio, or if you're listening on Spotify and you want to see what we look like, then click on YouTube and you will be disappointed. Instagram, TikTok, short form content everywhere. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week.
Punches chance. Punches chance podcast.